this practice of semen retention cannot be done through your own personal willpower. It cannot be done through your own personal effort. It can only be done through God, through the Holy Spirit, through the divine. In other words, you're embarking on a journey that most people would agree is not natural. It's not natural to avoid your desires. It's natural, however, to give into them. But as we know, based on the teachings of the spiritual masters, based on the teachings of the Bible, we're not supposed to give into our lower nature animal desires, our fleshly desires. We're supposed to live more through spirit rather than through the flesh. So if you're embarking on a journey that's not natural, we could call it supernatural. And if you're embarking on a journey that's supernatural, it would only make sense that we need some supernatural help in order to really be successful on this journey. And that's what the masters taught as well. You can only succeed on this path through grace. And in order to receive that grace from God, it requires humility. You must be humble, and you must be willing to set yourself to the side and ask God to work through you, and ask God to give you the strength and to give you the power to overcome these lower nature desires. A lot of people find it difficult to ask God, and a lot of people don't know what that means. Oh, why would I ask God? Who's God? Why would he? Listen, it's the act of humility. That's ultimately what it is. It's the act of setting yourself to the side and saying, listen, higher power, whatever you are, whoever you are, if you're out there, if you're in me, if you're wherever you are, help me through this. I can't do it by myself. Show me. And then if you're genuine, that power will reveal itself and it will work through you, and it will give you the strength to overcome those lower animal nature desires and to tap into a more spiritual version of who you truly are. Because without help from that power, you're going to continue to fall back into your old cycles. If you think you can do it by yourself, you will realize very soon that you can't. You can't do it all by yourself. It requires something greater. It requires, like I said, a supernatural power. If you're wanting to indulge in, or if you're wanting to walk this path, then it requires a level of supernatural discipline. Because let me ask you a question, actually, just to put this into perspective. Is it easier to give into your desires, to give into the lusts of the flesh, or is it easier to deny it? It's easier to give into it, isn't it? Right. So that would mean that the person that avoids it and resists it and does the work that it takes to transcend it and function from a higher state of mind, from a higher level of discipline, that person is actually stronger mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually than the person who thinks they can just do whatever they want and give in to all their desires. And you can. Even Paul says in the Bible, all things are lawful, meaning you can do whatever you want, but not all things are expedient, meaning not all things are good. You can do whatever you want, but not all things are good for you. As we know, the wages of sin is death. So if you indulge in your sin, in other words, your fleshly desires, you will eventually die, because indulging in the flesh means that you're identified with the flesh. If you're identified with the flesh, that means that you are going to die, because you think you are the body, and the body will die. So if you think you're the body, then you will die. Simple. Okay? If you don't understand that, meditate on that. If you think this body is you, as like most atheists do, they think this body is me, this accumulation of food and water and brain and tissue and blood, and that's me. They think that. They will die, because that's who they become. What you believe becomes your reality. But if you know you're not the body, you are that divine spark, that I am, that essence of the body, that consciousness that animates the body, then you will live forever. But if you're constantly indulging in the desires of the flesh, you become more and more bound to the flesh. You become more and more identified with the flesh. Therefore, you will eventually mistake yourself, if you haven't already done so, for being the body, and then you will go into the dirt, to the ground, because that's where the body goes anyways. But if you function from spirit, when the body goes into the ground, it's just like taking off a pair of clothes. It's just like dropping off your clothes, and now you're off to somewhere else. Now, if you continuously give into the desires of the flesh, the lust of the flesh, and you choose not to live by the Spirit, or at least try to, and you're just like, yeah, I can do what I want, I'm just gonna give into all my desires, whatever. Well, you're gonna live a cycle of pleasure and suffering, as I've talked about in my other videos. You'll experience pleasure when you have the thing, you'll experience suffering when you don't have the thing. Pleasure when you have the thing, suffering when you don't have the thing. This is just a cycle of life that people go through if you're not in tune with the Spirit. And even if you are in tune with the Spirit, you still go through the cycle. I still go through the cycle. You know, we're not perfect, but we can try to be. We can try our best to live through Spirit instead of through flesh. In order to do that, as I said at the beginning of the video, it requires a supernatural level of discipline, a supernatural desire to do so, and humility to give yourself up, to set yourself to the side and to say, call out and ask for higher power to guide you. So if you don't know where to start, that's a good place to start, asking God to guide you. Obviously this video was dropped in your life, so perhaps it was for a reason. And maybe this is the message that you needed to hear. If it was, leave it in the comments below. It helps me know to keep making these videos, and gives me some motivation to keep making these videos. I appreciate you guys watching. I think that's all for this one. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, hit the like button. It helps get this video out to more people. And I'll see you in the next one. Much peace and love.